Today, let's go ahead and jump straight into it, and let's talk about the WNBA. The WNBA salary increase. Now, I've made a video on this. I thought that this was going to happen, right? I had a feeling that when the CBA, what do they call them? The CBA negotiations started. I had a feeling like, yes, they are going to increase the salary for the WNBA, okay? And they did. The maximum went up from 117.5 to 215, but there's a lot of more incentives to where the best players can end up receiving up to $500,000 cash. So pretty good. I think the minimum salary went up too as well. I don't have those numbers right in front of me, but I do know that the minimum salaries went up too. The salary cap is going to go up from $996,000 to about $1.3 million. So about honestly, just about a $300,000 increase. And we'll see how everything goes. They also have, let's see what else I got in front of me right here. We already talked about the cash compensation. This is going to be for the next 8 years. Okay. They have this really stupid thing in the WNBA. It's called the core designation. It's sort of like the franchise tag. You know how like in the NFL, when they have like a really good player, but they don't want to sign them to a long-term deal, they can just pay them the max and for 1 year, and they can use that franchise tag, I think, up to twice in the NFL. Don't quote me on that. I don't follow the NFL like that. But in the WNBA, they can literally franchise you for like 4 seasons. So they can sign you to a 4-year deal, a 2 or 4 year deal out of college, and then franchise your ass for like another 4 years, use up all of your prime, and then just ship you somewhere, right? When you're no longer needed. But it's kind of crazy. But that's going to go down from, I believe, 4 years to 3 years starting next year. And then it drops, or this year, then it drops down to 2 times starting in 2022, which is really good. Also, they'll have full salary while on maternity leave, annual child stipend, and guaranteed 2-bedroom apartment for players with children. Okay. Also, travel is going to be a lot better. Okay. Now, what a lot of people said when this happened, obviously, this is good news for the WNBA, but what a lot of people was wondering was, how the heck did that happen, right? Like, where is the money coming from? How did this happen? This past season in the WNBA was a record low in attendance. The Atlanta Dream are moving to a smaller arena. So it's like, how in the world were they even able to do this? Were they even able to make this thing happen? And I've been telling people, all you Twitter economists out there who just don't get it, okay? Number one, when it comes to professional sports leagues, about 50% of the money comes from sponsorships, okay? So it comes from Budweiser, it comes from Nike, it comes from all the logos on the chest. About 50% of the income from professional sports leagues come from advertisers, okay? They don't come from ticket sales. A lot of people don't get that. They don't come from ticket sales. What the WNBA has to its advantage, even though ticket sales are low, is that they're subsidized by the NBA. So the NBA can simply say, hey, yo, y'all gonna give us money, can you take care of my girl too? That's basically what's happening with the WNBA. The NBA is just looking out for its girl, which is cool. I think it's good because, let's face it, if the NBA doesn't, this thing will tank. This thing will fail. The WNBA loses about, on average, $10 million per year. Now, I've said this, and I got a bold take right here. This is my bold take. Well, maybe not this year. Maybe a couple years ago, I think it was a prime time to buy a WNBA team. I think it was prime time to buy a WNBA team. And I'm going to tell you why. So what I do for a living is I trade Forex, okay? So trading Forex is the foreign exchange market. And so it's like trading stocks except with currencies, right? You know, when you go out of town or you go out of the country, let's say you're going to Europe and you got to exchange your dollars for euros, there's going to be an exchange rate. Okay, so let's say that the exchange rate for euro to dollar is like $1.10. Okay, so or yeah, let's say it's like $1.10 or whatever. So when you go, you bring them a $1.10, or let's say $110. They're going to give you 100 euros, right? But let's say you're in Europe for a week and the exchange rates drop, and so the exchange rates drop from $1.10 to $1, right? So let's say you didn't spend that $100. Well, when you get back and it's time for you to exchange your euros to your dollars, they're going to give you back $100. So in a way, just by traveling, you lost $10, right? Because the exchange rate fluctuated while you were traveling, even though you didn't spend any money. You kind of lost $10. Okay, well that happens. That is literally happening like right now as you're watching this video. The exchange rate is going up and down, and so what I do is based upon economic news that releases by different central banks, I anticipate what different exchange rates are going to do. That's how I make my money. I can get into all that later if you guys want to know that. But the reason why I brought that up is because there is a concept in Forex that a lot of people don't understand, right? Is that in order to buy something, you need somebody selling something, right? So the idea is most people buy stuff when it's already overpriced, right? So most people get in on something before it's too late, right? So like everybody was buying Google or Google stocks now and 5 years ago and 10 years ago, or Amazon stocks, 5 years, 10 years ago, when the best time to probably buy Amazon was back when Jeff Bezos was like in his garage or something, out of his home. That was when you wanted to buy Amazon stock. Back when the stock, or you wanted to buy Coca-Cola stock back when it was like $2 before you knew it was going to be big, right? And so I always said, this is my hot take, I would have, if I had the money, I would have bought a WNBA team. I still think it's prime time to buy a WNBA team, because what I anticipate is that women's basketball is about to go through what men's basketball went through in the 80s and 90s. And everything is primed and set up for it to happen. Because you got to understand something right now with women's basketball. This generation of women, like millennial women and Gen Zers, is that what they call y'all? Gen Zers? Whatever they call y'all. And for instance, my daughter, right? I got a daughter, 5 years old, loves basketball. She wants to grow up, be a basketball coach like her dad. Aw, cute. Okay. These are the first generation of women who actually have a professional sports league to look to. Okay? So these are the first women or first girls who are going to grow up with a professional, with role models, basketball female role models that they can look up to their whole life. And I have seen it happen firsthand. I live here in Eugene, Oregon. Guys, when I tell you that Sabrina Ionescu's freshman year, you could literally buy tickets for pennies on the dollars. I am not joking you. I one time went to a women's basketball game in 2016. Okay, 2016, 2015, something like that. I bought 8 tickets for less than $3. That was the state of women's basketball in 2015. Now, it's sold out. The season tickets are sold out. You can't get any tickets to go to a women's Ducks game. We average more people at the University of Oregon women's basketball games than the WNBA averages at all their games. Why? It's because there is a rise of women, more women playing basketball, and they're going to start playing it at a competitive level. I have a girl right now on my high school team. I'm telling you, she's good, right? Like, I think she's like, she's top 10 in scoring in our conference, things like that. Like, she's a solid little player. But if you would have took her and you would have placed her in women's basketball in the 70s or 80s, she's the best. She's competing for like National Player of the Year. But today, even how good she is, she's just a good player. And so my prediction is that women are just going to keep getting better and better at basketball, because the opportunities for women to get better and better at basketball are just going to happen. And what a lot of people don't get is that Nike sees this, all the different sponsorships, they see this. And so they're getting in on why it's hot. And all the Twitter economists are like, they don't make any money. They don't make any money. What's going on? They don't need to make money, number one, because they man is subsidizing them. The NBA subsidized them. So as long as the NBA has the numbers, people are investing in the NBA. They're not necessarily investing in the W. They're investing in the NBA, right? So as long as the NBA has the numbers, and with the anticipation that women's basketball will continue to get better and better, right? I think the 20s and 30s are going to be the 80s and 90s. Not to the magnitude. Don't get me wrong out there. I'm not saying to the magnitude of men's basketball that the 80s and 90s had. But you got to understand, in the 70s, the NBA was about to collapse. And then Magic came, and then Jordan came, and Kobe, and LeBron, and all this stuff. Sabrina Ionescu is the real deal. Tomorrow night, she's going to become like the first college player ever to get 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 1,000 assists. Y'all can say whatever y'all want to about her playing on the women's side. That is an amazing feat. And that's going to, and the crazy thing is 10 years from now, as good as Sabrina is going to be, right? There's going to be hundreds of Sabrinas out there. There's going to be hundreds of Sabrinas out there in about 10 years. So the 20s and 30s are going to be really, really good for women's basketball. And so this is good. And this is how they're able to do it. People are anticipating that great things will happen in women's basketball. And I think they will too. I think it's going to be a little bit slower than a lot of the female activists would like. But it's going to happen. Okay? All right, so let's jump into this. Let's jump into this. Going back to like this chasm I was talking about between men and women, right? This was actually a suggestion that someone said that I should do. Someone said I should start a whole YouTube channel about this.